neighborhood a truck, Foy's Plumbing.
Yes, I have.
And that's how you got to Mr. Foy.
Correct. My neighbor had used him.
Did you speak to the neighbor, or did you just remember seeing the truck?
No, I spoke to my neighbor.
Okay. Can you tell me on what date you noticed the leak and on what date you spoke to the neighbor?
Probably around the 10th or so of December.
That was in a shower that you don't use, but your husband uses?
I'm widowed.
Okay, so who told you about the leak?
The housekeeper.
Okay. And then did you check it yourself?
Yes.
And this small leak had been there for a couple of weeks before you got to Mr. Foy.
Correct.
After you spoke to the neighbor and confirmed that this neighbor had used Mr. Foy, when you called Mr. Foy, did you actually speak to him?
No.
Who did you speak to?
It was a woman that answered the phone.
Who answered the phone? Do you know?
Alma did.
I'm the office manager.
Okay, could you stand up, please? Tell me your name.
My name is Alma Valdez.
And you work for Mr. Foy?
Yes.
And you have a plumbing company?
Yes, ma'am.
How many employees do you have in the company?
Right now, only 3.
He's not one of them.
Yes, he's one of the employees.
How long has he been an employee?
Oh, on and off 15 years.
What does that mean, on and off?
Well, a couple of times he went to work for another plumbing company and then came back.
Was he an employee of your company, pay careful attention, in December of 2021?
Yes, he was.
Okay. And paid on the books?
Yes.
Is he still an employee?
Yes, he is.
Do you recall receiving the call in December from Miss Seiko?
Yes, I got a call from her on, I believe it was December 28th, saying that she had a leak, and so we set up an appointment for the next day.
Do you remember the conversation you had with her? Did she tell you she had been recommended by a neighbor?
You know, I don't recall. We did set up the appointment for the following day.
That would be December 29th.
Yes.
Have a seat.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Shelton was the person that Mr. Foy sent to
Correct.
you, and you were a full-time employee of Foy's Plumbing. Tell me what happened when you got there.
When I first got there, I noticed water running out of the handle.
It was dripping out of the handle because it had been there since December 10th.
It was streaming out. It was a pretty decent stream of water coming out.
The plaintiff doesn't use that shower, correct? So the first thing that someone would have done, even me, is turn off the water. Is that what you did?
Well, I wanted to go see what the leak really was.
Well, you looked.
Yeah. First, and then I went out and shut the water off, and then came back in to pull the cartridge to identify. And there's no markings on the plate, so I couldn't really tell exactly what brand it was. We do carry a variety of brands, but more of your typical...
You're getting too technical with me, sir.
Okay.
This is what the case is about. He came in, out the same day, the 28th. He said he didn't have the part. You have other complaints about his behavior on that day. You say was a little bit off. He left without a different part being put in. And you called another plumber? When?
I called, actually, my contractor that night to come over and look at it. He came over in the morning, which
So he didn't come over that night. He came over the next day.
correct. The next morning, he gave me
Now, you
a
can't tell me
referral.
what he gave you. He's not here. It is your claim that because of the actions of Mr. Shelton, and which are attributable to Mr. Foy, who owns the company, you suffered severe water damage in your house, causing you to have to replace substantial flooring in the house, and you want Mr. Foy to be responsible.
Correct.
You have insurance. I just want to make sure. You do have insurance. You're a company.
We're licensed in the state of California.
Okay.
We're required to carry insurance.
That's what the case is about. You want the company to be responsible. They did not come back and fix the problem. Someone else did, but by the time it was remedied, water had already seeped through and under the floors. You have evidence of that. Mr. Foy said that that's not his problem. So I'd like you to tell me what happened on the 29th when Mr. Shelton came. What time did he come in?
I think he came around 12:30. So we came in, went to the bathroom, looked at it, took out the cartridge. He did turn off the water. And then he said he had to go look for the part. He left. He was gone for over an hour, returned, said, I don't have the part, they don't have it. And as he's talking to me, his phone rings again, and it's the plumbing place, and they said, oh, we have the part. He left again for another hour. He comes back the third time, and he says, they still don't have the part. By this time, it's like 3 hours had passed, and I'm sitting in my living room, and I hear tools dropping in the shower. I said to him at one point, do you think you need to call for somebody else, some help? And he said, no, I can handle this.
Did he leave?
5 o'clock, I'm
left.
waiting. I have a friend that shows up at my house because we were going for dinner. And I said, well, we have to wait for the plumber to leave. And she goes, there's no car out front of your house.
You didn't know when he left?
No, I did not know when he
Okay.
left.
Did the shower look as if it had been put back in place? Did it look pretty much like this.
It was like that, but the stream of water that was minuscule before was much stronger.
Okay, that doesn't actually help you.
No.
That hurts you because he said the water was a pretty rapid. Is that what you told me? Just
enough
one
restrict,
second.
yeah.
Could you read back, Whitney, how Mr. Shelton described the water?
He said it was streaming out. It was a pretty decent amount of water coming out.
Yeah, he said that was pretty decent when you got there. And I am correct, Mr. Shelton, that when you left the house that day, you had not found a part to fix it. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I am correct that when you went to disassemble it, you turned the water off
Yes.
because it was leaking.
Yes.
And then you didn't fix it because you didn't have the right part. And then you turned the water back on. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Don't speak. Did you tell her that those were her options?
Yes. It would still
No
be leaking.
way.
It would still be leaking.
No way did you say to her, this shower is still going to be leaking.
Carla Sacco claims plumbers Robbie Shelton and Scotty Foy owe for damage from a water leak.
Now, when you left on the 29th without having put in an appropriate part because you couldn't find it, this leak, which caused you to turn off the water because it was a pretty significant leak, you turned the water back on.
The reason why I turned the water off, because you have to take the cartridge out. If I left the water on and took the cartridge out, it would be...
Listen, Mr. Shelton.
I know, that's
Mr.
why I
Shelton,
turned the water
Mr.
off.
Shelton, you're not being a two-process thinker, sir. Let me explain something to you. I came to California from Connecticut to the place where we live in California. I walked into the master bath, to the toilet, et voila, I see a puddle of water around the toilet. I say to myself, self, you went to law school. You don't know what this is. But it's not a leak that's coming from the back. It's a leak that looks like it's coming from the bottom. So I called engineering. Fortunately, I live in a place where somebody will come up. They came up right away. The first thing they did was turn off the water. Smart, just like you did. Then they opened up the problem, looked at the problem, and said, we need a part. Unfortunately, those are not the same parts that we keep in the hotel. We'll have to order it. Turned off the water. Use a different bathroom. For the 2-3 days it needs to get the part. You weren't there. So just pay attention to me, Mr. Foy. You weren't there. I'm just letting you know what common sense is living on the planet for a long time. If you have a leak that's caused by a faulty part, and you don't fix the part because you don't have the part, you turn the water off.
May I point something out? He had to turn off the water to the whole house because there is no shut-off to the shower.
Just a second.
He had turned the water off to the whole house, and he put this cartridge back before he turned the water on.
What difference does it make if he put the cartridge back? He has taken the cartridge apart.
No.
In order to see what it was, he took it out of the wall.
He took it out of the wall, but it does not take it
Mr.
apart.
Shelton, if your employee, and if what you're saying is accurate, which I don't actually think is accurate, because every room in a house usually has a turnoff valve, especially in the bathroom, so you don't have to turn off all the water to the kitchen and to other bathrooms, perhaps. If there's a problem in the shower, there's a master lever for the whole house, and then there are smaller levers for each.
For everything except the shower, ma'am.
What do you mean
Your
for
Honor.
everything except the shower?
The shower does not have an individual shut-off. You do indeed have to shut off the water to the house. The vanities, the toilets all have individual angle stops, but the shower does not.
Were you ever at the house?
No, ma'am.
No. So you were never at the house.
No, ma'am.
How many square feet is your house?
It's 2,500.
It's a substantial house. So you're telling me in a 2,500 square foot house, if you have a leak in the shower, you have to turn off all the water if you want to turn off the shower water.
Yes, ma'am. That's absolutely correct.
That's absolutely correct. Having not been there.
Yes, ma'am. I build houses.
No. I don't care what you build. You weren't in that house.
This has no shut-off, ma'am, other than the whole house. You have to shut the water to the house off to shut that off.
So now here's my question. Did you tell the plaintiff that she had two options, either to shut the water off in the whole house until you could get a part because there was still a leak, or you could leave it on, but you have to watch it because according to you, the water was substantial that was coming out. She said it was a trickle. You said, oh, no. It was a steady stream of water. And that was before you started messing with it. So my question to you is, did you tell her that those were her options. She's not a plumber. That you either had to turn off all the water in the house and you would return the next day with a part, or you could leave the water on, but it was still going to be leaking. Did you tell her that?
Yes. It would still be
No
leaking.
way.
It would still be leaking. Because it was leaking when I left.
No way, Mr. Shelton. No way did you tell her that. No way did you say to her, this shower is still going to be leaking because I can't shut the water off just to the bathroom. I have to shut off all the water in the house. If you're trying to sell me that story, I have a bridge I want to sell you because I don't believe it.
There's no way to isolate that valve.
I didn't ask you that.
When it comes to the shower
You were never there.
or the tub,
Just a second.
you can't turn it off individually.
You were never there. I have this question for you. How many bathrooms do you have in your house?
3.
When he left the first time and he shut the water off, did he indicate to you that you couldn't use the water anywhere in the house?
Yes, I believe he told me at first that he was going to shut off the water to the house.
Okay, so you knew. So you couldn't use any other of the toilets in the house?
No.
Okay, you may be getting better. When he left, did you use the bathroom? The answer is yes.
Yes.
So you knew that the water had been turned back on.
Oh, absolutely.
In the house. Just a minute. So you knew the water had been turned back on in the house, even though he didn't tell you I'm turning it back on. You knew. And you knew that he hadn't fixed the problem.
Correct.
So you knew that you better watch this, which is why you called your contractor to come and look at it.
Correct.
You're getting better, Mr. Foy. You're coming into a better place, you see? Things work themselves out. Now, you know that the water is still dripping. You know that there's still a leak.
Correct.
You know that if you use the water, that water is still going to be a steady stream coming out. You didn't get another plumber there until when?
The next morning.
Well, that's your contractor. You said he came the
No,
next
I
morning.
got a plumber there the next morning.
Okay, and they came, and did they fix the valve?
They had to open the wall to cap off the hot and cold water. to
So it
cap
was
the
a big
water.
job.
It was huge. I neglected to say it in the beginning, but when he took the shower valve off, he looked in the wall and he said, "It's dry in there, you're lucky." So that next morning when I walked into the master bedroom and I was walking in wet, I did call the
Boys.
Skywick. Mm-hmm.
Now tell me where you felt it when you walked into the master bedroom. Do you have wood floors there or carpet?
It's all wood. And it was right as I got to where the bathroom and the master bedroom meet. There's no door.
So it was outside that it was wet.
I thought my dog had an accident on the floor.
And prior to the 29th, it's not getting to look good for you again. Prior to the time, Mr. Shelton.
May I clarify?
Prior-
The room that she's talking about, the shower's here. Robbie's working in the shower where it's all tile.
You
which
weren't
where the
there.
water- and we never went into her bedroom.
Yes, you did.
Just a second.
You have to.
You can't tell me that because you weren't there. Is the bathroom adjacent to the bedroom?
So to get to the master bathroom, you have to walk into the master bedroom and make a left.
Okay. Now, Mr. Shelton, you recall saying to the plaintiff when you looked in the wall, "You're lucky it's dry in here"?
I said it looks dry. I'm not an
Just a second. Mr. Shelton, you wouldn't have said to her, "It looks dry in here, I'm not an expert."
expert on water
Did you
damage.
say?
Yeah, I didn't. You can't really see into that wall because it's tiled, right? You can't really look into the wall unless you open it, but there was no reason for me to open it.
Evidently, you're wrong. Either you were wrong that it was dry, or when you put the thing back together again, something didn't work. After he touched it, it was no longer leaking in the shower. Now it was going through the wall. I'm just telling you, that's the time sequence, unless you believe in miracles.
Carla Sacco has accused plumbers Robbie Shelton and Scotty Foy of causing water damage to her home. Robbie and Scotty claim the leak had been there for weeks.
Mr. Foy, you have a lot to say for someone who was never there.
Someone who's been a plumber for
And I
40
told-
Just a
years.
second. I've been alive with houses for longer than you've been a plumber, right? And there are certain things just from being on the planet. This leak was first detected more than 2 weeks before your plumber got there, right? That's what she says. However, within that 2-week period, there was no water damage to the wood. The only time there was water, listen, you can shake your head all you like. This is the timeline.
We got called because there was a leak, ma'am.
No, you got called
It was
because there
already
was a leak
leaking,
in the
and
shower.
according to her, it was leaking for 10 days.
Mr. Foy, What I'm telling you is he would never tell me that when he got there, he noticed anything that would have suggested to him that he best keep the water off in that house because there was water damage. He didn't notice that. He just took it apart, couldn't find a part, put it back together again, whichever way he put it back together again, and the next morning there was a flood. Now, that's the time sequence because she called you the next morning, couldn't get you at 8:30. I don't know whether she used a house phone. I don't know if she used a cell phone.
A cell phone.
Cell phone. So she would have a record of calling you at 8:30 the next morning because there was a problem. She felt water. So before your technician got there was no water coming up in her bedroom on the wood. And that had been water dripping, he says, a lot. She said it was a trickle for 18 days.
Into the shower, ma'am. It was dripping into the shower.
Until he touched it. After he touched it, it was no longer leaking in the shower. Now it was going through the wall. I'm just telling you, that's the time sequence, unless you believe in miracles, things that, just happen. Something had been going on for 18 days, and there was no incident of water damage in her bedroom. Your technician comes, doesn't fix the problem, but takes it apart, puts it back together again. The next day, voila, there's water damage on the wood, which has to be replaced. Now, either that could have happened by itself, because your technician says, it's not my job, I don't look behind the wall, but he did acknowledge saying to her, it looks dry in here. Does acknowledge saying that. Now, if I had a plumber and the plumber said, I'm not the expert, I had a leak in my apartment with a leaky toilet. The floor started to go like this. Couldn't figure out where it came from. They came down, they pulled all the walls apart in the apartment. Water travels down. I said, well, if water travels down, why don't you go look at the apartment above me instead of pulling out the walls on the side? Well, if something doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. Can you, Mr. Foy, and you were not there, could you give me another explanation of why? Because I believe her. This woman is not here because she is faking damage to her wood floors that resulted within that day. If he left at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the next day she called you at 8:30. So during that time period was sufficient water that came through her house to cause damage to her floors. Give me another explanation.
I contend that it was a leak that was there. She didn't notice it because,
No.
As she said, she didn't use that bathroom. She wasn't in that room. And
He was in that room.
I know, but what I'm saying is the water damage
was in the room.
there before he was there.
So your explanation is that you sent a technician there. Now it's not looking so good for you, Mr. Foy. Your explanation is your technician didn't notice sufficient leaking from that valve to say to her, you best turn the water off in the house and not use the water until I get back to fix it.
He wasn't looking in the bedroom, ma'am. He was in the shower. He saw the leak in the shower. And that's
Can I
what he
see
focused
pictures of
on.
the floor, please?
Can I say something?
Sure.
When I left, it was not leaking. It was leaking the same way it was leaking when I first got there.
So
out
that's
the front.
Well, just a second. That's a lot.
It was coming out.
According to you.
Well, I mean, what a
according
lot
to you,
to me is a
Mr.
little
Shelton,
stream is a lot of water.
Listen,
to
Mr.
a
Shelton.
plumber, so.
Listen, Mr. Shelton.
You know,
she said a trickle. You said no. It was a steady stream.
Yeah, stream.
That's steady stream. That's what you said, right? Can I see pictures of the floors, please? Between 4 o'clock and 8:30 in the morning. Can I see the bill to fix it, please?
I also have the person that fixed it. He wrote what he did.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, kind of itemizes that.
Would you show this, please, to the defendant?
Yes. Thank you.
So, Mr. Foy, I assume you have insurance. You should have used it because I think you're responsible for the damage to her floors. And I think that was done because your technician did not do an adequate job of protecting it between the time he found the leak and between the next day. Nothing else makes sense to me. 3589, judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I don't really agree with it because it was already leaking before I got there and she admitted to it.
I'm just thankful this is over.
That is a wood floor. Water could have been underneath the wood floor and not showed itself.
You would think once they pulled the floor up, there would be mold.
I have nightmares about leaks.
Got justice today, thank goodness.
So one thing I found interesting about that defendant's testimony was that when you were in your line of questioning about whether or not her dog had ever been in another fight or with any other dog, any interaction, she said no. I thought I remembered when I was reading her answer, she stated that she had a mutual understanding with the plaintiff that when her larger dog was outside, the plaintiff's dogs would be kept inside. Why would you need to have that sort of mutual understanding unless you knew that your larger dog had a propensity for violence towards other dogs?
That's true. I forgot. Now that you mentioned it, I remember that I read about this mutual agreement. I wouldn't think that she was afraid that the Chihuahua would attack her dog.
Probably not.
Probably not. Thank you.
Sherry and Jeffrey Marshall are suing their neighbors, Joseph and Jennifer Fugate, for an insurance deductible and filing a false police report.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case number 2074, Marshall versus Fugate.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. and Mrs. Marshall, you live across the street from Mr. Fugate and his mother.
Yes,
How long have you lived in your house?
22 years.
And Mr. Fugate, how long have you lived in your house?
Your Honor, my mom has lived in the house far longer than I have. She's lived in it since 2008. I moved in 2016.
Mr. and Mrs. Marshall, this problem that I'm going to try to rectify today deals with parking space.
Yeah.
And the parking space is a public parking space, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
And it's on the street, and the public parking space happens to be in front of your home.
Yes, ma'am.
You live across the street.
Yes, ma'am.
And the case involves acrimony that has developed because you, Mr. Fugate, would like to keep that spot that's in front of your home free for your mother, who you say for health reasons it would be more convenient for her to park right in front of the house.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. and Mrs. Marshall sometimes or always park in that spot. That's what the problem is.
Yes.
Okay. And I assume you're going to speak for your husband for now.
I can, yes.
Do you want her to talk for you?
Sorry.
He learns his lessons well. Oh, that's very good. Perfect.
I can speak for myself. If she need to, she can.
Perfect. You've been living there a long time. Did you have any trouble with the Fugate family about this parking space between 2008 and 2016?
No.
So before the son moved in, you had no problem.
That's right.
Had you ever, just a second, had you ever had discussions with Mrs. Fugate about parking in that spot before he came?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now, Mrs. Fugate, did you understand what I said?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I want you to be very careful in your answer to me.
Yes, ma'am.
You've lived there for a long time.
Yes,
Your son didn't move in until 2016. Before your son moved in, did you ever have any communication with Mr. and Mrs. Marshall about parking in front of your house?
Ma'am, she didn't park in front of my house before my son moved in.
Okay. So is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Can you tell me what changed after her son moved in?
Okay, where I park at is actually across the street from the Fugates. It's right by my driveway, and I park my Toyota Avalon right beside my driveway, which is the parking spot that Mr. Fugate is causing the problems over.
So it's the parking spot is in front of your house?
No, it's not in front of my house, it's beside my driveway.
But on your side of the house?
That's
on your
correct.
side of the street?
Correct.
Do they have a parking space in front of their house on their side of the street?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you ever park there?
I have. When they took the parking space I usually park in, I did park across the street.
Okay, so occasionally either Mr. Fugate, his mother, parks on your side of the street, on a public street, and you'll park in front of their house.
Correct.
Okay, I got it. Okay, so let me tell you all this. We're going to finish part of the case right now. Too bad. You can park wherever you want on a public street because there are other visitors that come, I assume, for people who live on the block, that they take up parking spaces, and occasionally there aren't other parking spaces. You know, there's no question you would prefer to park on your side of the street, and you would prefer to park on your side of the street. If you can't, you can't. Mr. Fugate, I'm just telling you, just so that you know, you have no right to a public parking space.
Yes, I understand that, Your Honor. I'm not the one that needs to be told that, though.
You have no right to a public parking space.
Yes, ma'am.
Where do you live, in what state?
Ohio, Cincinnati.
Okay, I've actually been to Cincinnati frequently, but I am certain that there is no regulation in Ohio or any city or town thereof that says, well, you sort of had first dibs on the parking space on the public street that's in front of your house. That's ridiculous.
The best that Cincinnati has, Your Honor, is a 3-day law that if the vehicle doesn't move within 3 days, then it could be towed by the city. But that's the best that they have.
You live across the street from each other. Did either of you ever call the police and say a car has been there for more than 3 days?
Yes, Your Honor.
Who did?
I did, Your Honor.
Why?
Because the spot in question that's directly across the street is actually, it's hindering to the entire flow of the neighborhood and where everybody parks on the street. I served 10 years Army, and I fought for people.
Listen, I don't care if you're a good person, if you're not a good person, if you're a do-gooder, if you're not a do-gooder. It's a public street. And if what you're suggesting to me is they should be nice, it's an older person, and they shouldn't park in that spot, what I'm telling you is I wouldn't start up with anybody by calling the police on a car that especially a car that I knew. I know that it's my neighbor's car. They've been living there for 22 years, relatively peacefully. Relatively peaceful.
It hasn't really been peaceful, Your Honor.
You moved there.
Yes, I did.
They were living there a decade before you moved there. You.
Yes, ma'am.
If it wasn't peaceful, there are options. You're a free person. But I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I cannot imagine my calling the police on a neighbor's car that was parked in the street. Well, that created problems. Okay, so I see where we're going. We're going to get to this case. Reimbursement for insurance deductible, that's one thing, because you claim that Mr. Fugate damaged your car.
Yes, ma'am.
On what date?
That was on June the 26th.
Of this year?
Of 21, I'm sorry.
Okay. Do you have any video evidence of the damage to your car?
No, ma'am. All I have is a picture.
Tell me how he damaged the car. With what did he damage the car?
Okay, he damaged the car with his hand. I'm parking the car.
You mean in front of?
In front of Mrs. Fuggate's home.
So on her side of the street?
Yes, ma'am. I exit the car. Mr. Fugate is being erratic.
No, don't tell me what your perception of. Tell me what he did.
He was beating the hood of the car.
He came up to the car and was hitting the top of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now I'll see the car and the police report. See the dent, and that's the hood of the car. Okay. Okay, as this police report says, Mr. Fugate told the police in his narrative that this incident occurred, there was a disagreement over the parking space, and that you struck him with the car, causing minor injury. Okay, because you have a cross complaint for that.
That is correct.
Okay, so that's a simple. June 26th, I see the car was damaged. There's no question it was damaged by somebody pounding on the hood, and I assume that was you.
Ma'am, that's wrong. I did not pound on the hood.
Well, then tell me, Mr. Fugate, how these dents occurred, just the way they look, on the hood of the car.
Your Honor, I have the 911 audio calls of the night, as well as the police report, and I also drew up a diagram where she was originally parked that explains everything. But,
okay, so I'd like to see that. Okay.
Ma'am, if I could approach the diagram.
Absolutely. June 26th.
On June 26th, I was talking to my parents when the marshals came home. My car was parked right here. Okay, they came home, they blocked their own driveway, and parked right up on top my bumper.
Just a second.
I
Just a second. So you, Mr. Fugate, were parked on a public street where you could park on their side of the street, not your side of the street, okay?
Yes, sir.
And they came up blocking their own driveway.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, did you see them? Were you in the house watching?
No, I was on my parents' porch.
Okay, so now you're on your parents' porch, they're in their car, and they blocked their own driveway.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Not a big
So-
deal, right?
Not any of your business.
Right. It wasn't, like I said, wasn't a
Wasn't
problem to
any,
me, wasn't
wasn't any of your business.
exactly. So
Go ahead.
anyway, I'm talking to my parents on the phone. They're just getting done working. I can hear that the marshals are upset about where I'm parked at on a public street. And I went out to save my parents' spot because I could hear her say, I'm going to teach him a lesson.
So, Mr. Fugate, now, is what you're telling me that that car where you're standing in, you went out to make it so that they could not park on a public street? Is that what you're telling me? The answer is yes.
Yes.
You got off the porch to stand in the street to block them from moving in front of your house because your car was parked on their side of the street.
No.
Just
No, Your Honor. No, you got it wrong.
is that red car yours?
The red car is mine.
It's mine.
Yes, Your Honor.
Just to say, the red car is yours. Listen, I'm not a moron.
I know that.
The white car is the space that you wanted to save for your parents.
Yes, Your Honor. They were on their way home. I was
Who
talking to
gives
them.
a rat's behind where they were? Now you have
This
both
whole
spots.
area was clear, and there is a crossing road that comes all the way through here, and they could have parked.
Who made you the monitor of public parking?
No one.
Who do you think you are to be the monitor of public parking?
Sherry and Jeffrey Marshall claim their neighbors, Joseph and Jennifer Fugate, owe for an insurance deductible and filing a false police report. Joseph and Jennifer are countersuing for medical bills from an assault.
Now, you went out on a public street to go like this to save a parking space for your parents.
Yes,
that you had no right to do. Let me just understand this. You had no right to go out there. You parked on their side of the street, and then you went outside to save the spot because your parents were on their way home.
Yeah,
Just a second. You have no right to do that. Zero. Don't you understand that?
No, actually, I don't understand that, Your Honor. How do I not have a right to save a spot?
You do not have a right to
my
save a
elderly
public...
parents.
Just a second. You don't have that right. Because I'm here to tell you, you don't have a right to save a spot on a public street by standing in the street like this. Don't park here.
And I
you
don't
have
like this.
little maybe too embarrassed to state that, but that was my position. So
yeah, but that's the answer he gave.
if you have the opportunity to leave, that's what you should do. I agree with that.
And he left, and he came here with his girlfriend. Now, I don't know if they're living in the same place now, but certainly she would come to visit him. That was one of the things that he was objecting to, that you couldn't stay past 9 o'clock. Well, so you put your tushy in the car and you go to her house, which is 2 cities away. I have zero sympathy. If you ate the steak, you're supposed to pay for it. You sold a dog and he didn't pay for it.
Yes, ma'am.
The dog was sick, and I've been asking them to come get the dog.
He said the dog had rabies.
It was just getting out of hand.
Where's the dog now?
I just gave the dog away.
The only sadness for me in this entire case, which, that's between you and your mother, has something to do with the legality of your lawsuit, because you can't sell something that you don't own, and you don't own it until you pay for it, right? My real problem with the two of you is you don't appear to be people without any common sense or brains. How do you not know that a puppy needs puppy shots before it can be involved with other dogs, walk around, be near other dogs, that it needs shots just like a baby does?
Your Honor, I was aware of the fact that the dog was supposed to go for shots in September.
No, it wasn't supposed to go in September,
I got
madam.
the dog August 21st from my mom. My mom told me the following month that the dog was going to need shots. And that was only like a week or so from the August when I got the dog.
So where did you get this idea that this puppy that you had didn't need shots before September? Your daughter a moment ago said September was the date because that's when your insurance kicked in.
September 1st, yes. I got the idea from Tina, the person that I actually purchased the dog from. She told me that the dog would be due for his first shots the last week of August. But the problem is that he told us the dog had rabies. And I researched that.
That it had
and
rabies
there is no...
symptoms.
Sure.
Who told you the dog had rabies? Oh, I'm not talking about him.
That's why he didn't want to pay, because he said the dog had rabies.
Let me explain something to you. I don't know whether the dog had rabies or not. I know that you and your daughter were negligent. And your daughter has no claim because she didn't pay for the animal. You did. You're not the plaintiff. You paid $800. You sold it to your daughter for $900, and you sold it to him without shots for $1,600, of which he paid you $5.
No, ma'am. We had an agreement to pay the $5, but I wasn't giving up nothing.
Just a second. So you paid nothing?
Nothing. No, ma'am. The first payment wasn't due until I got paperwork and everything on the dog.
Okay. So you got the dog in October, October 17th.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see the vet bills after October 17th.
I have that, and I got her rabies shot certificate and things like that.
This doesn't show me anything.
Yes, ma'am.
This shows me a surgery consult. I don't know.
No, he wanted to do surgery, yes, ma'am.
This isn't a vet bill. I've been doing this for 28 years. So if you're not going to be able to show me what I want, don't waste my time with the zh on the machine.
Okay.
If you don't have it, you don't have it.
I don't have it on me right now.
Then just say I don't have it.
No, ma'am, I don't.
Why don't you have the vet bill? We're not talking about forever ago, sir. All you have to do is say to the vet, I'm going to court, I need a copy of my bill.
That's my...
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I had it.
Now I want you to tell me, because I'm not crazy about either one of you. You, because you were both negligent with regard to this puppy. You had no right to get a puppy if the two of you weren't emotionally or financially able to take care of it. You should certainly understand that when you get a puppy, when you buy a puppy, did you pay for it, by the way?
I did.
Okay. And if you paid $800 for a puppy, you ask certain questions. I've had dogs in my life for 70 years. Every time I purchase a dog, the person from whom I purchase it gives me a piece of paper that says when the dog was born, who the parents were, when it got its first shot, when it's got its second shot, when it's due for its third shot. That's what you get. And it's hard for me to comprehend that neither one of you really either understood it or just figured, well, I had the dog for 6 weeks, then I'm going to sell it to my daughter. I don't know, she'll want it, she doesn't want it. She's going to sell it to somebody else for twice as much as I paid for it. So she sold it to him, allegedly, for twice as much as you paid for it. Sick. Where's the dog now?
Well, I repeatedly asked him to come get the... I gave the dog to a friend of mine.
Did you give the dog to him?
Yes.
No payment?
None at all.
Why?
Well, because...
Not well. Well is not
okay,
an answer.
I'm sorry.
Well is not an answer. You understand
Yes, ma'am.
that I have problems with your veracity
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
already.
Okay. So I just gave the dog away after I repeatedly asked them if they want the dog back.
Just a second.
3 dogs are in the house with us, which is what they call Katana, which we call Lucky. And then I have a little small Chihuahua, a miniature Chihuahua, named Kimura. And then we have another dog that is called, what is her name? China. Yes, so we have 3 dogs in the house. But I had 3. Now it's 2.
When did you give the dog away?
It had to have been like December sometime.
Your Honor.
What?
The only reason I wasn't just trying to double charge him for the dog, I was trying to get the money back that I had put into the dog. My mom put that amount.
Just a second. What did you put into the dog?
I had to pay a lease agreement to have the dog.
Who cares? What is that?
I paid $500.
Who cares?
Well, when I was selling the dog, I was looking to get my compensation back, and that's what we agreed
That has nothing
upon.
to do with him or the dog. That has
We
nothing
agreed upon that price for
He's
the dog.
not paying you anything.
Okay.
He's not paying you anything. He gave the dog away. Would you tell me the dog got a rabies shot on October 31st?
Yes, ma'am.
What'd she need an x-ray for?
Well, see, because she was throwing up and we were trying to figure out what was going on with the dog. She was sick. So we had to take her to an emergency clinic, which that I explained that to them.
Just a second. What emergency clinic?
It's called hospital.
You look it up. Get a number. I'm going to ask you
Yes, ma'am.
if Sarah called this vet hospital.
Yes, ma'am.
And you gave them authorization. The dog's name that you gave the dog was
Lucky.
what?
Lucky?
Lucky.
Lucky. Yes, ma'am.
Gave the vet hospital your name, the dog's name Lucky.
Yes, ma'am.
How much would they tell me that your vet bill was for Lucky?
It was $1,022 and some change.
Do me a favor. Call them. I want you to find out, Sarah, how much he paid and what was done to the dog. When you had the dog, Miss White, and you said the dog was making all over your house and you had to get rid of it because you couldn't stand the smell, didn't you think that the dog was sick?
No, she wasn't potty trained. She was still a puppy. The smell of it was a lot for me being pregnant. It would cause me to be sick and nauseous all the time. He called me and he was like, why do you want to get rid of the dog? What's wrong with the dog? I said, well, nothing's wrong with her. She's just really active. I'm pregnant. Everything was fine. I told him then I didn't take her for her shot that she needed in September. He was fine with that. We agreed on the price.
Now, just a second. Just stop there. You didn't take her for her shots.
Yeah, in September, like my mom had told me I needed to. I did make him aware of that before he even came up there.
You do understand that if I find that he, in fact, spent over $800, which is what your mother paid for the dog, over $800 in vet bills for this dog, you get nothing. Do you understand?
Okay.
Because you sold him a sick dog. First of all, you didn't pay any money for the dog.
I paid to have the dog in my home.
Who cares what you paid your landlord? I don't care what you paid. No. You do understand that if I find that he, in fact, spent over $800 in vet bills for this dog, you get nothing.
Okay, but
But
Your Honor.
her husband agreed that the dog maybe got sick because the dog was eating out of the cat bowl, drinking the cat water from a stray cat. That would make a dog sick right there.
Absolutely.
So after the husband told me that, I already know what it was.
Okay, Your Honor, as far as the shots, I understand that the dog was supposed to go and get its shots. And I did know that, and that's why I let him know that there was shots that I did not give the
Doesn't
dog.
matter. To me, it doesn't matter.
Well, I just want you to know that I made him aware of it, and he was fine with the fact that the dog needed shots and paying for the shots that the dog needed.
Paying for shots doesn't cost $1,000. It doesn't cost $1,400. It only costs that kind of money if the dog is sick.
And she was sick. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, that's not what they informed us. I have 3 different messages, different things
all
that
I'm
they
telling
told
you
us.
is I'm going to see if I can get a response on the phone, if I can. If he paid anywhere near $800 to the vet to take care of a sick puppy, end of story.
Hi, this is Sarah Rose, and I'm a law clerk for Judge Judy Scheinlin with the show Judy Justice. We have a case in front of us right now regarding Aaron Coker and his dog Lucky, who came in, and I just needed a write-up of what he paid as well as what the dog received. Okay, so you have no record of him then? I did not. Okay, no problem. Thank you very much for your help.
The fact that you never had a dog before, that you didn't know, that you were pregnant, that you were nauseous, all is meaningless to the dog that was neglected. Meaningless. Now you can sit down.
Your Honor, I have a question.
I don't answer questions.
Okay, well...
I ask questions. Yes?
They had no record of Aaron Coker or Lucky.
This was less than a year ago. You can get a vet bill.
Yes, ma'am.
You knew you were coming to court.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Miss White, first of all, you had an animal that you hadn't paid for, so you had no right to sell it. I actually find that your conduct and your mother's, although not intentionally negligent with regard to this dog, was in fact negligent, and you sold him a dog that he got rid of after he took her to the vet, because I believe he probably took her to the vet because she was sick. Did you have a cat?
Yeah, there was a stray cat outside, and they would sleep next to each other outside in the backyard. The cat and the dog, like, they would just be out there taking a nap together when I went
You
outside.
do understand that puppies can get sick from other animals. Yes. Cats or dogs, they don't discriminate whether it's a cat or a dog that has an intestinal bug, and you have a cat outside that you feed outside.
Yes, Your Honor, I'm not denying that the dog needed its shots. I know that it needed its shots, and I know that it could have contracted worms because worms is something it can get. I learned that after the fact.
Or other things.
The dog was completely healthy when I gave him the dog. He even sent me a picture of the dog playing with his other dog when he received the dog.
Maybe. And maybe the dog got sick hanging around with his other dogs. That's possible.
But they changed the story 3 different times. And I have all the messages of them changing their story every time for what was actually wrong, for why they wouldn't pay me the money for the dog.
First of all, you didn't pay any money for the dog.
I paid to have the dog in my home.
Who cares what you paid your landlord? I don't care what you paid. No court cares what you paid your landlord in order to have a dog. Nobody cares. You didn't pay for the dog. There is a certain amount of fairness that if your mother is owed money for this dog, and even though she was neglectful of this animal, he really had no right to turn around and give it away to somebody else. And I'm not so sure that after he got a 6-month-old dog well again with all the shots, that there was no money exchanged with regard to the dog. I'm not so sure, sir.
Well, I didn't charge anybody. I asked them numerous of times. They wouldn't come and get the dog. It was just getting out of hand.
Well, it was getting out of hand because, sir, you hadn't paid them any money. When were you supposed to make your first payment?
Like November 10th or 11th.
Okay. And you had the dog until December.
Yes, ma'am.
Why didn't you make your first payment?
Because the dog was sick, and I've been asking them to come get the dog.
First of all, you can't tell them to come and get the dog because you bought it. You bought it without a contract that said it had a health guarantee, a health warranty, whatever. That doesn't mean she's getting a penny because she didn't pay for the dog.
Okay.
You had an arrangement with her.
Yes, ma'am.
To pay her in November. You didn't do it.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, stand up a second. Did your daughter agree to pay you back after she got paid from him?
She did.
You see, my problem is I could dismiss your case and then your mother would have to come back because she's the actual owner of the dog because you didn't pay for the dog. And there is no way that you're getting twice as much as what you paid for the dog. But I don't think, Mr. Coker, that you're being honest. You certainly didn't bring me the proof. You certainly didn't bring me evidence that was either in your possession or capable of being in your possession. And I don't think that these people in Beaufort who spoke to her were lying to her when they said they don't have you in their system with a dog whose name is Lucky. Then you have to pay something for this dog that you just gave away. Because I'm not so sure that you just gave it away. The only sadness for me in this entire case is that this poor puppy had, by the time it was 6 months old, 4 different owners, all of whom were neglectful. You, and I don't know about the person that you ultimately gave the dog to. I don't know whether that person is going to be using or abusing her because, according to you, he got her for free. And even those shelters that really have rescue animals, they charge something because they want people to have a certain financial investment in taking care of a pet before they give you a pet. So that you gave what was an expensive dog to this person for free is something that I don't buy, like I don't buy the vet bill. You get $100 for the dog. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $100. That's it. Next time, take better care of animals.
This court is adjourned.
I mean, it was a fair judgment. I wish I had brought the right document with me, and I didn't, so.
He lied about having the bills. and he gets to get away with not paying it.
It was a family feud between the mother and the daughter, and now the mother is standing with the daughter now, so.
She was completely healthy, and he knows that.
She was sick, she was small.
He just didn't want to pay that much for a dog.
I'm happy she found a great home.
You know, I still can't get past the fact, Sarah, that in this country now there's a sense of entitlement that once you start a job for a reason, for a non-reason, and we're not talking about the violations of
The Constitution.
the Constitution. We're talking about
Parameters set by bosses.
parameters. You have to be in at 9 o'clock. Well, but I can't because I get up late, I'll stay later. I can't be in by 9 o'clock. You're fired. Period.
Yeah.
I want you to continue to be my employee, but we're changing from 1099s to employees. If you don't sign this agreement, you're fired.
Yeah. As soon as I read the papers, I knew the defendant had misunderstood the definition of duress because
Yes.
it was smeared all over her answer that I only signed it under duress, duress this, duress that. Well, being offered the handbook of the place in which you are employed and being offered a choice of these are the new requirements. If you like it, great, sign
If
it,
not,
continue working,
not,
and if
adios.
not, goodbye.
Yes.
And that's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, but don't sign it, then go off and open up 2.8 miles
Oh, yeah.
away a competing business and take 3 people with you. Yeah, that's a no-no.
Case number 3033, Helmanen versus Allen. All parties, please step forward.
Mary Helmanen is suing her ex-boyfriend, Lamar Allen, for the balance of a cosmetic dental loan.
Pronounce your last name.
Helmanen.
Mr. Allen was your boyfriend for a period of time?
Yes.
Doesn't appear to be a long period of time, relatively short period of time. I think if my memory is correct, you met him in October online.
Yes.
And by December, you were planning a trip to Colombia in order to have dental work done there, cosmetic dental work done.
Yes.
You suggested, according to what I've read, that he join you.
Yeah.
Would it be fair to say that at some point you said to him, you're really not comfortable traveling to South America by yourself?
Yes.
And that you would feel more comfortable if he came with you?
Yes.
At the time, in October, November, and December of last year, what kind of work were you doing?
I'm a nurse practitioner
How long have you been doing that?
since 2017.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a firefighter.
Now, Mr. Allen, I'm going to come to you. The plaintiff, a very lovely-looking lady, wanted to get laminates. Laminates?
Porcelain.
Porcelain. Perfect. I come from a long line of dentists.
Okay.
I was very bad in biology and chemistry, so I went to law school. Mr. Allen.
Yes.
You have very nice teeth.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Who paid for them?
Mary did.
So, Mr. Allen, what I want you to do is explain to me. I understand that the plaintiff was going to Colombia to get her dental work done because it was cheaper there. And that you were a short-term then boyfriend, which is over now, I assume.
Yes, correct.
I want you to tell me how it came about that you went to Colombia with her and got your teeth done.
Okay. Never thought my teeth was an issue as far as us dating. Then we got there to Colombia.
So you didn't discuss your teeth being done before you got to Colombia?
Correct.
You're kidding me.
Correct.
You were just going to go. Who booked the tickets?
Mary did.
Who paid for them?
Mary did.
Who booked the hotel?
Mary did.
Who paid for the hotel?
Mary did.
We did talk about it before.
Just a minute. Mr. Allen, I want you to be very, very careful with me because I read her complaint and I read your answer. And the complaint suggested that you had a price for your teeth
Yes.
before you got there.
Yes.
Well, if you had a price for your dental work, cosmetic dental work, before you got there, you had to have had some discussion about paying for it. Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yes. Well, tell me what that discussion was.
After she brought it up, then I researched for us. I sent them information for us with my teeth for us, like how much.
Okay, so when you researched it, she gave you the name of the people
dental.
she was going
Correct.
to see in Colombia.
I was writing them back and forth through
How are you writing?
Instagram. They had a page.
Okay, so who was writing them? You were writing
Yes,
them.
correct.
Okay, so then it's a fair statement that you had a price from them before you went there.
Yes.
Now, how much was your dental work?
$4,200.
Ultimately, how much was your dental work?
It came to 8,000.
How much were you quoted before in this back and forth Instagram that you were doing? How much were you quoted?
It was roughly around 6,000 they quoted me.
Let me see.
I don't have it with me.
Why not?
For the balance of a cosmetic dental loan.
I'd like to see any evidence that you have. You have nothing. What is that you're showing
So
me?
I have the credit card information.
I don't need the credit card information. You paid for him.
Right.
And you paid for him in December of 2022.
Yes.
You paid for him to go, you paid for his... I want to see something from December of 2022 or January or February. Now, when did you break up?
We broke up in December.
In December, when you came back?
Yes.
Okay, something either in December, January, or February where you ask him for the money that you claim that he owes you. Show me.
Okay.
Text message.
I have a lot of that.
Good. I'd like to see him.
Okay.
Thank you.
The dates are on the top.
Yes, I'm definitely going to pay you back. I'm not going to leave you hanging, especially not owing $8,000. Seriously. Is that what you wrote to her?
Yes. I said I was gonna pay the difference.
No, that's not what you say here.
I know, but I said that just to get off my back for our site.
She says, take out a personal loan. You say, I'm definitely not going to do that.
Correct.
I'll start paying you off.
Correct.
Or I'll start paying the credit card off. She said, I paid the credit card off. Yes, I'm definitely going to pay you back. I'm not going to leave you with $8,000. Well, then start. I'm not playing your games. I did you a favor. What's a Meeks?
Oh, it's my dog.
So your dog got lost.
Yeah,
and that was your priority in February.
Yeah, of course. My dog was.
And 20 weeks from November, that's when you told me, so hopefully it'll be April and April 19th. So that's when you told her you would be able to pay her back.
Yeah, because the IRS gave me the date.
I don't care. Well, there's no question based on this, sir, that you agreed to pay her back $8,000, which is what your dental bill was.
At first, I didn't want to give them done when I got there.
What?
So I did not want to give them done when I got there. After they said the price was different, I told her no. I said, I'm not going to do it. Like, I'm not gonna make you pay that much. So I told her no.
Not in these emails. You got the teeth, she got the bill.
I told her not to do it when it happened.
You had to go like this. Look at me. You had to go like this.
No, she agreed. She said, she said I pay for them. She said, well, we're already here. I pay for them. I said, no, I don't want to do it. It's too much money. So I said no.
Listen to me. You said no. You had to go like this.
But she said I'd do it. She's like, oh, I pay for it. Don't worry about it. Just pay me whenever you get your money. So I grew up paying the difference, which is $3,000. Like, I'm not gonna pay her the whole eight grand.
She may have found you adorable. Other people may find you adorable. Me, not so much. Maybe because I'm old. You told her you were going to give her back the $8,000 that it costs to do your teeth. You told her that in February. You said, I'm going to give it back to you. I'm just waiting for my refund check from the IRS. Then it was your dog that got lost. Did you ever find your dog?
Yes, I did.
Oh, that's good. I'm happy for you.
Appreciate it.
And I'm happy for you that you have nice new teeth and that you have a nice smile. You owe her $8,000. Did you have a nice trip to Colombia? She flew you there. She put you up in a hotel. I don't know who paid for the meals.
I paid for the meals. I paid for everything prior to that, and after that, like, I was paying it back, and because we're together, we're a couple.
Yes, then you were a couple. Now you're not a couple anymore. Someone else is going to look at those pearlies and say, I love you. Do you understand? You have to pay for that. You know, you have to pay for that. You're a responsible man. You have a responsible job. Take care of yourself. That's what you're supposed to do. No. If you let a woman take care of you,
no woman take care of
if you let a woman take care of you, you're not taking care of yourself. You're a big, strong guy, and you told her you were going to pay her. That's what you did. So you got to pay her, Mr. Allen. You have to stop being a big baby. You have to pay her. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $8,000. We're done. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I said no one was there. He was like, well, I just paid you the difference, not the whole full amount.
I'm happy with her decision. It was fair.
She said, well, I pay for it. It'll be a gift for you. So I'm like, okay, well, then I'll do it.
I would have never given him $8,000 for free.
I guess everything changes when you break up.
I was really patient with him in paying me back, and I've never seen a cent.
Don't trust women.
He's got his teeth forever.
you know?
I got a great smile, so I guess it's okay.
I'm not gonna buy anyone teeth.
Harassment.
Now, tell me what your version of what happened with this knife machete and why you even had any conversation with him. Go ahead, because I read your complaint.
Okay, I was out on my property cleaning the brush off, chopping it down with a machete, and I was sharpening my knife, and I seen him over there trying to stand up a wall by himself. And I just thought to myself, be a neighbor and go over and ask him if he needs some help, you know, lifting it up. And at the time, I was sharpening my machete, and I walked over there and I asked him.
And what did you say to him?
I said, hey, man, you need some help to stand that wall up? Do you need help putting that up? I said, I can help you, you know. I said, I'm not doing nothing right now. I said, I can help you stand it up if you want. And he goes, oh, no, I got to take some timbers down or something that was standing up in the middle of the trailer. I said, well, if you need any help, just let me know. I said, I can come over here and help you stand it up when you get ready to put it up, you know, just trying to be neighborly. And I'd already forgotten all about the other stuff that had happened, you know. It comes in my mind and out of my mind just as quick as it enters. I don't dwell on stuff like that, you know. It's no big deal to me. And I just asked him if he needed some help.
The fact that your wife wasn't helped and had severe damage to her leg, she had to have stitches, it just went out of your head?
No, the prior conversation that we had went out of my head because I didn't have no kind of ill feelings against him or nothing. I was just trying to be a neighbor and help him out to stand his wall up to help him put it in place because I seen he was having trouble getting it up. And I didn't think nothing of it whenever I had the machete in my hand and I was sharpening it. It wasn't no big deal to me. I was just sharpening my knife to go over there and clear some more brush off. You know, I didn't have no ill intentions about trying to use it on him or anything else. There wasn't no intimidations there. Not like whenever you come out the house with the gun and start shooting it 50, 60 times in a row, you know, that there's intimidation.
Is that what happened with the machete?
No, ma'am.
Tell me again. Did he come up and ask you if he could help you?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he say it in just that way?
No, it's not what he said. It's the fact that he couldn't have seen me from where he was working.
Yes, I could.
Shh. Is what he came up and said to you, can I help you?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said?
No, thank you.
And he said?
Okay. You know, it went off the property.
He said, okay, and left?
Yes.
And it was based on that interaction that you filed for a protective order?
Yes, because I went to the police and asked them what I should do.
You can't tell me what the police told you, sir. That's hearsay.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see what you wrote in your affidavit seeking a protective order. And they dismissed your protective order.
Yes, ma'am, because they said that it only constituted one out of two.
Just a second. It determined the court hears testimony, which means they took testimony, and they determined that there was insufficient evidence to justify a full protective order.
Yes, ma'am.
I would have ruled the same way. Okay, so this actually further expands what the problems have been, at least in your perception of them. He said, I'm afraid of the respondent, Brian Jones. Brian Jones is a drug dealer with constant foot and vehicle traffic who has threatened me and brought a weapon within 3 feet of me at my house. Is that the machete you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. He knows that I am working with the police to stop the crime on my road. He has rage issues and is addicted to drugs. On September 9th, Brian told me he doesn't call 911. He takes matters into his own hands.
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't tell me that.
I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Did he say he doesn't call 911?
Yes, ma'am. After I told him that I was going to bring a lawsuit against him because of the dogs, he said that he would take that lawsuit, wipe with it, and throw it on the ground.
Did you say something to him, Mr. Jones, about, about not calling 911 to your house? Careful. Did you say anything to him about not calling 911 to your house? That's a yes or a no?
Yes, I told him that I do not call 911.
Just a second. That's what I thought. So at the time you went over to him, and that was on what date? On the 13th? I told you the same thing I'm telling him.
Yes,
if he doesn't know the answer, he'll say, I don't know the answer. Was that on the 13th?
Yes.
Okay. So on the 13th, you said to him, I don't call 911, correct?
Yes, ma'am, I said that.
And tell me, why did you say that to him?
Why? Because
just a second.
Because he was threatening me with calling the cops on me and taking me to court for my dogs barking.
Taking our dogs.
Your case is dismissed.
I didn't say anything.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And you're annoying.
You haven't even given me a chance to say anything.
I just had a whole discussion with you. What do you mean? I asked you all kinds of questions. Now I'm asking your husband questions. And you're not to interfere.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand?
I understand,
And you
ma'am.
apologized already once. You want me to read it back to you?
No, ma'am.
Okay, very good.
Could I say something, please?
No, you can say nothing. It's all coming together now. So the second issue in this case is whether or not Mr. Hart had sufficient basis in his mind to seek a protective order, even if it was ultimately dismissed. And the answer is he had sufficient basis based upon what you said to him and what had transpired with your wife to feel as if he was threatened. So your first part of your lawsuit was for the damage to your car, and for that you're being awarded $1,000 to have your car fixed. You're going to go through insurance. The second part of your lawsuit is that you want to be compensated for a false protective order. That part of your complaint is dismissed because, in my judgment, Mr. Hart had sufficient basis to think that he might be in danger, and he wanted to see. It's not a question, Mr. Jones. You can shake your head all you like. It's a perception of his, not yours, of his. So that part of your lawsuit is dismissed. The last part of your lawsuit has to do with harassment. Now, who is going to tell me, you are going to tell me about the harassment. Tell me the first instance of harassment.
I would imagine that we'd have to go with saying that it was right after the ex parte was dismissed, and he started.
So that right after the ex parte was dismissed, that would have been September 25th.
Correct.
So after September 25th, go ahead.
Okay, that was when.
Don't read anything.
Good example out there of we here in court hear legal arguments, not emotional arguments. It can be, a therapeutic experience for the litigants to be able to get their story across or share the underpinnings of the story or what really went on is something that we hear a lot in court. But it doesn't matter how many color-coded files you have if they don't contain evidence that are pertinent to the legal argument, not the emotional argument. We don't want to see them. We don't want them.
Especially in this case.
It was cut and dry.
In this case, there were contracts.
Yeah, signed.
There were two
no
contracts.
argument.
A lease and a termination of that lease with the terms.
Yep.
And there was only one word, Sarah, and that word was some.
And that allowed him to even bring the countersuit in the first place.
But it was sort of slick, the word some. If you're going to forfeit your $925 deposit, and what he's primarily complaining about was that the horses ate all his grass in his meadow. Right, for $925, you can buy an awful lot of grass seed.
Sure.
They're not about to build him a whole new piece of property. Didn't work out. There was a contract. Sort of interesting. Yeah.
Case 2203, McAlley versus Wainsworth. All parties, please step forward.
Susan McKaylee is suing her neighbor, Ed Wadsworth, for towing fees and car damage.
You know the defendant through a friend of yours.
I do.
She is a significant other partner.
Right now they're roommate status, but...
Roommates.
Correct.
Of a friend of yours.
Correct.
Some time ago, you found a dog or rescued a dog and gave it to your friend and the defendant.
They had found the dog and rescued it.
Okay, so they found the dog.
Yes.
What kind of dog?
Kind of a... You can imagine him pulling a sled. I have a picture of him.
I'd like to take a look.
All right.
No.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
You can hand that to her.
Oh, he's beautiful.
Oh, he's wonderful.
He's beautiful. And tell me, you live with somebody as a roommate?
Yeah, she's my girlfriend, actually.
Girlfriend. Okay. And that's the girlfriend who's also your friend?
Yes. Very close.
How long have you been together?
Like 12 years.
What?
I know. But I've been there and done that.
You were afraid to even say that. 12 minutes, 12 hours, 12 days, 12 years. She's going to get me for that one. Okay. Is this the first dog that you had together?
We had a golden retriever that lived to be 16 years old and died this last summer. And then a friend of mine, he was driving to work one day and he saw what eventually became Snowy, running around. So he rescued him.
When was this?
6, 7 months at least.
6, 7 months ago?
Yes, beautiful animal, just wonderful animal.
I see he's your screensaver.
Oh, yeah, I know it. In the morning, we'd let him out to do his business because we live in 20.
No, we're not there yet,
sorry.
sir. There was an incident that occurred when the dog got loose and you couldn't find him. How long had you had him before he got loose?
6 to 7 months.
Well, this is
the
her
date.
complaint.
Yes.
She said it was January 2023 and you got him in December of 2022. You have a dog of your own.
It's my roommate's dog, and they're the same age.
Okay. And do they play together?
Yes, we use them. We socialize them.
May I
together.
see the photograph?
Yeah. Same age. And wanted to see how they socialized together, and they did great. They became great buddies.
Oh. They're wonderful together. Anyway, something happened in January, and you called the plaintiff and told her that Snowy had gotten out and he was missing and he didn't come back. Was he out overnight or just part of the... He was out overnight. Did you call her in the morning?
No, it was later in the afternoon. It was getting towards...
Okay, so he had been gone one whole night?
Yes.
And in the morning and afternoon of the next day?
Yes.
You tell me why you're not responsible for half the tow truck bill.
Okay, so the tow truck couldn't get to her through me because it was such a mess.
How did you get out?
He pulled me a little bit. Drove for hours.
Okay. And then you called her and asked for her help.
Yes.
I assume you asked for her help and told her to bring her dog, or this dog, because they were friends.
Yes.
Okay. He called you and said...
Well, I believe it was his girlfriend, my friend, our mutual friend, that asked to...
Just a second. So it wasn't the defendant who asked you. It was your girlfriend. But when you met, was your girlfriend there?
No, she was not.
Just he was there?
Correct.
Okay. And where did you meet?
It was outside his property.
Where was your girlfriend?
She was in the house. She's got some physical disabilities, and it's a struggle to get out in the snow for her.
Okay. So just the two of you, and each of you has a truck.
Correct. I was also with my roommate. She came as well because the dog is actually hers.
Okay.
So.
And I had the truck.
And you have?
I have a Honda Element, an old Honda Element.
Okay. So this is the case very briefly. I don't have to get into any more facts with you. The facts are relatively simple. Your dog got lost. Your girlfriend called her girlfriend and said, could you help find Snowy? Bring your dog with you because, you know, maybe that will be helpful in finding him. He's been out a day and a night, and you volunteered to go.
Yes.
And you went, and your car got stuck in the mud.
Correct.
And was damaged.
Correct.
And you think he's responsible, and you want him to pay for that?
Yes. Well, there's a little bit more to it.
You tell me why he's responsible.
Well, you know, this is a case of no good deeds go unpunished. The thing is that we asked him to come help tow the vehicle out. He said, sure. He also got stuck in that process. And then when I called the tow truck came, pulled him out, and then he just took off. No thank yous, no covering his expenses, and just left.
Oh, covering what expenses?
Covering the expense of the tow, and there was some damage to my...
Forget the damage to your car.
Okay.
He didn't even ask you to go. His girlfriend asked you to go.
Okay, well,
he didn't even ask you, even if he had. Your car got stuck. He wasn't driving your car, was he, when it got stuck?
No.
Okay, you were driving your car when it got stuck.
Correct.
Right. And he also got stuck.
Yes.
Okay, so legally there's no liability for him to pay for the damage to your car if your car was in fact damaged. I can't even think of a scenario where your girlfriend and his girlfriend would have been responsible. Your car got stuck in the snow. You're right, no good deed goes unpunished. It ended up costing you some money. But we're going to talk about the towing. Could I see the towing bill?
Yes.
Thank you. Say what? Okay. So, Mr. Wadsworth, this is my question to you, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
I read the complaint, I read the answer. Your truck got stuck in the mud as well.
That's correct. I asked her, I said, how's the ground? And she said it was frozen. But where she wasn't frozen. I pulled like crazy.
And who called the tow truck?
I did.
Were you able to extricate yourself without the tow truck?
No.
No. The
No.
tow truck had to tow you out as well as the plaintiff.
That's correct. But
okay, sir. So... There's a tow truck bill for $330. Why shouldn't you be responsible for half of that?
Okay, well, the tow truck driver.
Don't tell me what the tow truck driver told you, sir.
Anyway.
Just no, not anyway.
So
I want you to tell me, not a so. The tow truck came and towed both of you out of the mud.
That's right.
Now, there's a bill here for $330 that you say you paid in full.
Yes.
And I'm asking you why you shouldn't be responsible for half of that tow truck bill, not her car damage. You're not responsible for her car damage. But you tell me why you're not responsible for half the tow truck bill.
The tow truck couldn't get to her through me because it was such a mess. He had a long cable, and that's eventually how he pulled her out.
How did you get out?
He pulled me a little bit.
Because you couldn't get out yourself.
And then I drove the rest of the way.
You know the 3 most difficult words for a man to say?
Well, besides, I'm sorry.
How about, oh, it was my fault? Or how about, yes, I'm responsible? Or, yeah,
Well,
I'm sorry.
We had offered to use our tow service, which wouldn't have cost anything.
Did you call your tow service?
We called our
And
first
just a
company.
second. You called your insurance.
But
Don't
had already
speak.
called this other company.
Don't speak. I already explained to you why he's not responsible for the damage to your car. But you owe her $165. That's half the tow. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
Oh, you found the dog. You found the
yeah.
dog. I understand that you didn't find him in time he was injured, but he's home with you now?
Home now.
Good.
Yes. I guess it was a fair judgment.
To me, it was the principle of, rewarding favors and being grateful for help.
The tires spun with 4-wheel drive.